What's going on, everybody? Season 1 is officially here in Diablo 4, and I gotta be honest, I don't think I've ever had so much fun playing a Druid before. This Poison Landslide build that I've put together, it is doing insane amounts of damage. We were able to solo the level 70 capstone at level 56, and honestly, it was pretty much a breeze. We were 57 once we got to the boss, and we were able to down him in under a minute. And with us being 13 levels lower, that really shouldn't be possible, especially with how tanky we are being a Druid. Not only does this have massive AoE damage, but it also offers massive single target damage. Guys, I promise you, if you're running Druid this season, you're going to want to try this build out because it is frying. First, I'm going to go ahead and just cover the build. I will have a link in the description to a page that will show you exactly a full leveling guide, what points to put where, when. But right now, we're just going to briefly touch on the build and show you exactly what I have my points in. So first off, we have Storm Strike, Enhanced Storm Strike, and then Fierce Storm Strike. The Fierce is a lot better for the 50% chance at Vulnerable. Then we come over here to Landslide, which is our main point of damage. We do put a full 5 points into that. Then Enhanced Landslide, and then you want the Primal Landslide for the guaranteed crit strikes, because your crits are going to be huge going into late game. We come over here and we go Heart of the Wild. We just have to put 1 point into that so that we can get into Wild Impulses. Your core skills cost 9% more spirit, but you're doing 15% more damage. And personally, that trade-off is well worth it. This build is much more cooldown dependent than it really is spirit dependent, and you never really have an issue with spirit. Then after that, we're going to come down here and we're going to grab Earthen Bulwark for the defense. You're going to go ahead and get Enhanced Earthen, which makes you unstoppable while active. So it gives you a free chance to break any CC that you get into, or pre-pop it if you know the CC is coming, which is huge. Then we go over here and we use Preserving Earthen Bulwark, which casting it grants 18% life as you fortify, which is also huge. This build, you're pretty much going to be just fortified the entire time. Your health bar really won't go down too often. Not only are you tanky, but you're throwing out so much damage. I'll be honest, I mean, I really love my Necro, but this Druid that I'm playing right now, it is just so much fun. Then we go ahead and throw a point into Ancestral Fortitude. We have to do that once again to get over to Vigilance. You gain 15% damage reduction for 6 seconds after using a defensive skill. So it just makes you that much tankier every time you're using Earthen Bulwark, giving you more survivability, which is always great. Now, the next key part of this build is the Poison Creeper. The Poison Creeper is so strong because of the new aspect that came out with Season 1, which we'll touch on in a second. This is the next thing that you want to get. You do want to put a full 5 points into it. You could go 2 or 3 points and then into some more passes if you'd rather. I kind of prefer the damage right now. Maybe later game that will change. But personally right now, I do have a full 5 points into the Poison Creeper, and then I get 2 from my items. Then after that, you go Enhanced Poison Creeper, and then you're going to go Ferocious Poison Creeper, which when it's active, poisoning duration is increased by 3 seconds. Now that's going to play into some of the aspects that you get in some of the gear that you're going to spec for, allowing you to do damage or extra damage to enemies for that much longer when you have your tankier elites or your bosses that aren't going to just instantly be disintegrated like most of the random mobs that you're going to run into. After that, we come down here and we grab Trample, another ability that allows you to break away from CC, but there is an aspect that goes into this that every time you trample, then you put 6 landslides behind you. There's another aspect that you get that doubles that. You're getting 12 You're getting 12 landslides going all over the map every time you trample, putting out huge amounts of damage. Then we're going to go Enhanced Trample and then into Savage Trample. I tried out both of these, and yes, it is nice having the 20% fortify every time you pop it, but we just have so much fortification throughout this build. I prefer getting the 40 spirit every time I use it, just in case you do end up needing a little bit spirit. Then we hop over here, Crushing Earth. Earth skills deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back enemies. And with this build, everybody is basically at least one of those. So you're pretty much always doing an extra 15% damage. Then Safeguard. Your critical strikes with Earth skills fortify you for 7% base life. Once again, going into that fortification I was talking about. Then down here to Stone Guard, While you have Fortify for over 50% of your maximum life, which again is the majority of the time, your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage. So once again, not only are you super tanky, but you're throwing out a ton of damage with this build, and you do want to put 3 points into each one of those. We come down here, throw a point into Neurotoxin just because we have to, but honestly, because you are using Poison Creeper so much, the 8% slow is still nice. Not a game changer, but it is nice to have. And then Envenom, we put a full 3 points into that. You and your companions gain 30% bonus critical strike damage against poison enemies. So going back to why we chose this instead, that gives you an extra 3 seconds to be able to hit that crit to do 30% more damage, and they kind of play together. Now down here for the ultimate skill, you're going to want to go ahead and grab Petrify. In my opinion, Petrify is hands down the best one to have. Not only are you stunning all of the enemies around you, you're doing extra critical strike damage to them. Killing an enemy also grants you 25 spirit, so you can honestly just landslide after landslide after landslide. It is a insane ultimate for this build. Then you obviously want to put your points into the next two, Prime Petrify and then also Supreme Petrify. With that, you're going to be having 50 spirit every time you kill an enemy instead of just the 25. And basically you just have infinite spirit, especially if there's a bunch of smaller adds around. You can spam it for the entire duration of Petrify and your spirit bar literally will not move from full. Now we're going to go into Defiance. You want to go ahead and put 1 point into Defiance. Then you're going to drop 3 points into Natural Disaster. Your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. This is going to play into our Paragon board, where literally anytime you do any damage to any enemy, they're going to be vulnerable. So it's boom, an instant 12% increase to that. And now we're going to go up here to Resonance. We're going to throw a full 3 points into that. Nature magic skills deal 6% increased damage. Triple this bonus if an Earth skill is the next skill cast after a Storm skill, or a Storm skill is next after an Earth skill. Now this one is just nice for the defensive nature of it. Increase the amount of Fortify you gain from all sources by 15%. Now again, that is going into keeping you above 50% fortification for the extra damage with the other passive, and it just makes you that much tankier. So defensive posture is hands down worth it. And then we're going to come down here, and for our passive, Nature's Fury, casting an Earth skill has a 30% chance to trigger a free Storm skill of the same category. So that also will play into this because it does proc Resonance as well. And that's just randomly happening and allowing you to do that much more damage. In addition, casting a Storm skill has a 30% chance to trigger a free Earth skill of the same category. So it's just another passive that's really nice that plays off of your other passives for damage, allowing you to put out insane numbers and clear mobs. Now, obviously, it is only 30%, so it's not always guaranteed, but I think you really will be surprised with how much it does proc. Alright, now that you guys understand how the abilities work, the synergy behind them, I'm going to explain the spirit boons, which further goes into the synergy of this build. For the Deer boon, we're going to go ahead and grab 10% reduced damage from elites, just because it is nice to be a little bit tankier, and none of the other ones are really that worthwhile. For the Hawk, we're going to go ahead and grab 30% critical strike damage, just because who doesn't like to see some massive crits? You know, attack speed might be kind of nice. 5% increased critical strike chance is okay, but you really can't pass up an extra 30% damage. Let's be honest here. Then we're going to go ahead and pray to the Wolf boon. So that way we can grab Pack Leader, which is the biggest thing out of any of the boons for the build. Critical strikes have up to a 20% chance to reset the cooldowns of your companion skills. And that is one thing that makes this build so strong. You can literally cast your creeper and have it reset on cooldown. When you have big mobs, I've had it where I've literally been able to cast it 4 or 5 times in a row, throwing out insane amounts of damage. And with the aspect that came out in Season 1, every time you cast Creeper, it puts out a circle of landslides around you. If you have the other aspect, it doubles them. It's either 6 or 12. But then you also have to remember the passive on landslides where you can get the guaranteed critical strike. So you're pretty much almost, if you have big mobs around, you're just about guaranteed to be able to cast this twice, but you can really cast it up to 3 to 4 to 5 times if you get lucky enough. And that in itself makes it so easy to wipe AoE mobs. It's honestly kind of a joke. And then on top of that, we're going to want to go Calamity, extend the duration of ultimate skills by 25%. That goes into the Petrify, and then also just being able to do more damage because everybody's going to be CC'd for longer. And as you guys saw in all the other passives, we're doing a ton of extra damage anytime someone is CC'd. And then for your boons, this is going to also go into the passive that we picked. Nature magic skills have up to a 10% chance to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds. This is just nice because it helps you get your ultimate back more often, and honestly, none of the other snake ones are really worth it for what we're doing in this build. Every 20th kill will cause your next earth skill to overpower. Like, yeah, that's nice, but we're not really speccing for overpower, so this is hands down the best option. Alright, now that we've covered abilities, we've gone ahead and covered the boons. Let me show you guys all of the aspects that I'm talking about. I do have the majority of them on my gear, but they don't say the aspect name. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know every single aspect to what their ability is right off the top of my head. So this is the build guide that I am going to have linked in the description. It will have the skill tree. It will show you exactly everything that you need and when to put it in. It's also going to show you the spirit boons. It's going to show you what you should have on your skill bar, and then also what each aspect is and where it should go. So ideally in the helm, you're going to have the symbiotic aspect. That is the one where it lowers the cooldown. So we've kind of already talked about that one. And then in the chest armor, we have the aspect of might. Basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 2 to 6 seconds, depending on the role that you get, which goes into building us to be a little bit tankier because we are a druid, so it's nice to have the damage reduction. In gloves, you're going to have the aspect that I've been talking about that literally makes this entire build possible, and that is the subterranean aspect. Poison creepers active also cast landslide in a circle around you. Earth skills deal 10 to 20% increased damage to poisoned enemies. So not only is it proccing all of the landslides around you, but then it's also allowing those landslides to do that much more damage. This is a must-have in the build, and you do unlock it after completing Chapter 1 in the seasonal content. So it's literally the first aspect you get for doing some of the most basic things. Guys, make sure you take care of Chapter 1 as soon as possible and throw this aspect in your build. You'll honestly probably have the aspect before you even have Creeper unlocked. So by the time you get Poison Creeper, you're going to want this aspect. Then for pins, we're going to go tanky again. 0.25 to 0.5% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 15 to 30%. Yes, aspect of the disobedience was nerfed going into the season. I do still feel like it is worth it for the extra tankiness. There might be something else you prefer, but personally, I think that is the best aspect to throw on your pants. As far as your boots are concerned, ballistic aspect is really nice. When you fortify, your earth skills gain 2 extra ranks. Again, going back to you're pretty much always fortified, so you're getting extra ranks in your landslide and everything else. Then on your two-handed weapon, in my opinion, you definitely want to go a 2-hand on this for the double damage. Your core skills in the aspect of retaliation, your core skills deal up to 20 to 40% increased damage. So it will be 40%. But if you do find a random drop, it could be as high as 80% based on your amount of fortify. Again, don't forget, we're pretty much always fully fortified, so you should always be doing 20 to 40 to 80% extra damage as long as you have this in your two-handed weapon. Now, the next one is one of the things that makes this build so good. It is not a deal breaker, but it does feel very nice to have. Trample now summons 6 landslide pillars of earth during its duration that deals 70 to 80% normal damage. Trample is now also a nature magic and earth skill. So once again, that goes back to ballistic. When you're fortified, even that will get extra points into it, mounting to huge amounts of damage for yourself. This next one also, not make or break, but I think this is probably the second most important aspect to have. Aspect of the Aftershock. Landslides, earth pillars each strike a second time and deal an additional 6 to 12 bonus damage per hit. So when I was talking about using Subterranean Aspect and it casts the circle, now you have 2 circles, which the original circle does 6. This is throwing 12 landslides out all around you. Then also when you hit your trample, you're not having 6, you're having another 12 landslides go out behind you. Basically, your entire screen is just a constant landslide doing massive damage with all of the guaranteed crits, and then also the crit chance to have the lucky hit to then go ahead and allow you to reset your Poison Creeper so you can hit your Poison Creeper 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. The amount of AoE damage is insane, but then also all of that single target damage can be crucial as well. This one is also really nice. Crash Stone Aspect. Earth skills deal 30 to 40% more critical strike damage to crown controlled enemies. Again, with Landslide and Trample and Poison Creeper, everybody is pretty much always CC'd. You do have the guaranteed crits out of your landslide, so you're basically getting a guaranteed 30 to 40% more critical strike damage every time you get that landslide prop. Now, those are the aspects that you're going to want to run. As far as your gems go, I go with the Emerald for my weapons. That way I can get an extra 12% critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. Again, remember, with the first glyph spot, your enemies are always vulnerable. You can put 2 of those in, so that's 24% extra critical strike damage. Essentially, anytime you crit, then we do want to be a little bit beefier, so I prefer to put the rubies into my armor for the 4% maximum life. Now, last but not least, as far as this part of the build goes, let's talk about the Malignant Hearts that also play into this build. Revenge is super nice because it helps you become even tankier. The damage that it puts out really isn't that great. It's more about absorbing the incoming damage. Depending on the role that you get, all suppressed damage is amplified by 250% and explodes, dealing up to X amount fire damage to nearby enemies. Again, it's not the biggest amount of damage. What we're really concerned about here is the 10 to 20% damage reduction. Now, this one is the most important one, in my opinion. Inexorable Force. Up to 30 to 50 distant enemies are pulled towards you while you have an ultimate skill active. So every time you pop your Petrify, anybody who is in that massive ring gets sucked into the middle. You pop a creeper, that goes ahead and puts all of them in a huge circle of landslides. Then you can spam your landslides on top of that, because every time you kill one, you're getting the 50 spirit back because of Petrify and the passives, and they're all grouped up right there. So it's not quite single target, but it's kind of single target damage on an AoE scale, because you have 50 enemies right there, all piled on top of each other, being mashed by your landslides in one single spot. Honestly, the first time you do it, it might be one of the most satisfying combos to use in the entire game. I promise you. Use it one time and you'll have a smile like I do right now. And then for the third one, the Barber. Critical strikes and all subsequent damage within 2 to 4 seconds is absorbed by your target. Then the absorbed damage erupts onto surrounding enemies. Stored damage is increased by 10% per second. So that just allows for some extra AoE damage. Once again, it's not a make or break heart. This one is the one that is the most crucial to the build, but the Barber is also really nice for the additional damage. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have 2 previous videos on leveling. If you're not quite 50 yet and you're trying to get an idea on how to level your Druid, they are the fastest ways to gain XP in the new season. That way you can get to 50 as quickly as possible and get into the end game content. I will be trying to post daily videos, if not at least a few times a week. So if you did like this video, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video. Go ahead, drop a comment, let me know what I did right, what I did wrong, what videos I could come out with in the future. But most of all, don't forget to sub to the channel and click that bell to turn those notifications on so you know every time I'm uploading.